Sure. Well, I would love to hear your speculation on the conclave.
Well, speculation in conclave never portends the way that you think that it will. But I certainly think that the conversations around what is most important for the church are extremely important. There is a financial crisis at the Vatican. I think more importantly, there is a crisis of ambiguity. Um, People right now need clarity in order to live their lives. You've seen that in England, in LA, in France, record number of people were making baptisms and becoming Catholic. That's at the same time that we're losing, 8 out of every 10 Catholics, something like that. For every 10 Catholics that enter, eight leave. So there certainly is a crisis in the United States of understanding what the church teaches and putting that into practice. The conversations that are happening right now in the general congregations as to what type of pope the cardinals would like to elect are extremely important. I would submit that one of the most important is actually how the church handles sexual abuse. So, my experience covering Latin America and Africa is that there is a tremendous crisis happening in those areas. One that's maybe not as well recognized. It's much more in the shadows than the U.S. bishops' crisis in and around Boston in the early 2000s. So, certainly the influence of religious orders and provincials seem to be where a lot of the same dynamics were happening. Priests were being transferred. People were not accountable for having abused persons. And so I definitely think that zero tolerance pope and a pope that has no dalliance with this form of protection of evil is going to be essential to the future. We see that the church is growing in places like Africa, but Africa needs a sustained catechesis, and Africa and Latin America, I think we will see that they have struggled with abuse in ways that might shock us.
Can you just help clarify that? So, how would the zero tolerance policy look different from the current, or I guess former policy?
I mean that the Holy Father who's elected needs to have had zero tolerance, as in like no compromise with this form of evil in his management. Certainly, there are uh, cardinals who have very significant questions around their past reporting of abuses and their past handling of abuse cases in their diocese. And I would submit that's an unwise person to elevate. I'm not a cardinal, and I won't be participating in the election, but certainly the aftershock of having elected a person who has, when there are many cardinals who do not have any stains on their record, the aftershock of having elected such a cardinal could be devastating.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm just wondering if you could clarify that a little bit more. What exactly would a zero tolerance policy look like?
A zero tolerance policy would look like no tolerance for the abuse of children. So a priest would not be allowed to continue in their position having been found to have abused children. Priests would not be given a second chance. Priests would not be moved to another place in the diocese. Priests would not be, I think of the very famous case of Father Rupnik, who is accused of abusing over 20 consecrated nuns. He's still a priest. The entire female congregation that he abused for a number of years was disbanded, and the Mother Superior was sentenced to a life of penance. Father Rupnik remains a priest who celebrates Mass. So, zero tolerance looks like zero tolerance. There is no party with evil. There is no compromise here in terms of who continues to operate as a priest once they have credibly been found to have abused minors, consecrated, violated, significantly the sixth commandment.
So you're saying remove their faculties. They can't perform the ministerial functions. Okay, gotcha. And then if a person in leadership, like you mentioned, a cardinal, has, I guess, like covered it up in some way, then they should also be, well, yeah, they should also be removed from their position.
Then they should be disqualified from their position. I mean, certainly disqualified from leading the entire faithful worldwide.